Captain Arlo Zev leaned back in his seat, watching the star field stretch out before them like an endless velvet canvas. His four-eyed, blue-skinned navigator, Nisa Korla, was intensely focused on her monitor, fingers dancing over holographic controls. They were en route to the outer reaches of the known galaxy, a system long dismissed as a backwater cluster with nothing of value. But for Arlo, there was something tantalizing about the unexplored. His species, the Centurions, prided themselves on mapping the stars, but in this remote sector there were only rumors, legends, mostly of a species called humans. The Kylar Empire, the dominant power in this region, regarded humans as myth. Stories were told of a race that had once thrived, one so resilient and audacious they challenged the very boundaries of the galaxy. But most Kylar citizens believed the tales to be nothing more than bedtime stories for young ones, warnings of arrogance or tributes to tenacity. Humanity, if it had ever existed, had vanished long ago. The Galactic archives held only fragments, records of technologies far ahead of their time, rumors of languages as complex as the stars, and myths of courage that bordered on foolhardy. To the Kylar, humanity was as much a legend as the creatures they depicted in ancient cave carvings. Arlo hadn't expected anything different from his usual explorations, but there was a tension in the air that even he couldn't quite explain. His antennae twitched with anticipation as he looked around the bridge, catching the gaze of Nissa, who gave him a quick, confident nod. The atmosphere within the starship Starbound Weaver was charged, an unusual mix of excitement and trepidation. Something about this mission, this uncharted region, seemed different. "Captain," Nisa called out, her voice even but tinged with a hint of something he couldn't quite place. "We're detecting an energy signature." Arlo straightened, his curiosity piqued. "Energy signature? In this void?" She nodded, eyes wide with intrigue. "Yes, sir. It's faint but consistent, originating from the third planet in this system. Class M, oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere. Captain, it matches the mythical parameters of Earth." Arlo's heart gave an unexpected leap. Earth. He'd grown up hearing stories about it, but he had always thought of them as little more than folklore. The planet was supposed to be the cradle of humanity, a world of green lands and vast blue oceans, rich with life. Could the stories be true? His mind raced as he tried to process the implications. "Set a course," he ordered. "We'll see if there's anything to these stories after all." The Starbound Weaver drifted smoothly toward the blue-green world, coming to rest in orbit as they observed the planet below. Even from their altitude, the planet's surface bore scars of time. From the depths of orbit, they could see ruins, massive, ancient structures now overtaken by flora, overgrown and decaying. The ruins looked both magnificent and tragic, relics of a civilization that had thrived and then vanished. "Commencing scans," Nisa reported, her voice quiet with reverence. "Preliminary results suggest massive city structures, but they've been abandoned for centuries. Atmospheric levels show signs of gradual natural reclamation. It's as if life carried on without its creators." Arlo absorbed her words in silence. Earth had always been portrayed as a place of resilience, a world where humans had pushed themselves to the brink of extinction, yet always clawed back. It was almost impossible to imagine that a civilization so vibrant could simply fade. But here were the remnants, silent sentinels standing vigil over a world that had moved on. "Do you think there's any chance they could still be here?" Nisa asked, her tone a mix of skepticism and hope. "Unlikely," Arlo replied, though he couldn't shake a strange sense of unease. "If there were humans here, they'd have made contact by now. But the energy readings are real, and there's something about this place that feels alive in a different way." As they prepared for descent, a new voice crackled over the intercom. Click. The ship's security officer, a towering, gruff Andromedan with a keen sense of danger and loyalty. "Captain, I don't like this. There's too much we don't know here. Old legends, abandoned cities, I'd say we're stepping into a ghost story." Arlo couldn't suppress a small smile. Click was notoriously cautious, his instincts often steering the crew away from unnecessary risks, but even Click's apprehension was tinged with the unspoken allure of the unknown. "Let's keep an open mind, Click," Arlo replied. "If this is what it looks like, we're about to make history." They broke through the atmosphere, descending over sprawling forests, reclaiming ancient streets. Skyscrapers, once towering symbols of progress, were now shrouded in green. The sight was haunting, mesmerizing. There were traces of technology embedded in the landscape: twisted metal, strange circuitry and crystalline structures, but nature had encroached, turning Earth into a strange tapestry of industry and wilderness. The ship landed near one of the tallest remaining structures, a skeletal spire that jutted out of the Earth, a monument to what had once been. As they stepped out onto the planet's surface, an eerie silence greeted them. No sounds of industry, no hum of machinery, only the wind whispering through the ruins. "Captain," Nisa murmured, pointing toward a barely visible entrance, overgrown but unmistakably an entrance. "There's something here." The team moved cautiously, their lights cutting through the darkness as they stepped into the shadowy interior. The walls were adorned with symbols, written in a language that was both alien and hauntingly familiar. Arlo touched the wall, his fingers brushing against the etchings, a silent tribute to the hands that had carved them ages ago. "It's a language," he said softly. "Human language." Click scanned the symbols, his sensors blinking rapidly. "We're translating. It'll take a moment, but it's definitely a message of some kind." They waited in tense silence, the weight of history pressing down on them as the translator processed the symbols. When the translation finally flickered to life, Arlo read the words aloud, his voice barely a whisper. "In memory of those who ventured forth and those who stayed behind, may humanity's spirit never waver." A chill ran down Arlo's spine. Here, in the ruins of Earth, was a message that had stood the test of time, a reminder of the resilience, the determination, and the unyielding spirit that had defined humanity. "Maybe they're gone," Nisa murmured, "but I don't think they were ever truly lost." Arlo nodded, feeling an inexplicable sense of connection to this long-lost race. They hadn't just stumbled upon a relic, they had uncovered the heart of a legend, and for the first time, he felt the true weight of what it meant to be standing here, in the silent ruins of a civilization that had once reached for the stars. "Let's keep going," he said, his voice thick with awe. "Something tells me we've only scratched the surface." As the team moved deeper into the structure, an uneasy quiet settled over them. The air was thick with dust and age, a musty scent that seemed to cling to every corner. Shafts of sunlight pierced through cracks in the building's walls, casting long shadows across the room, illuminating patches of intricate carvings on the walls. Each design seemed to tell a story, a visual chronicle of the people who had once lived here. "Captain," Nisa whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of their footsteps echoing through the empty halls. "Does it ever strike you as strange that a place as advanced as this could just vanish?" Arlo nodded, glancing at her. "It's unsettling. They were rumored to be capable of great things, exploring galaxies, building cities that touched the clouds, and yet here we are, standing in the dust of their world, not a soul left to greet us." Nisa's gaze lingered on the wall carvings. There were symbols and images that defied her understanding, shapes that seemed to shift and ripple in the dim light. Her fingers traced one of the carvings absently, feeling a faint electric pulse beneath the surface, as if the walls themselves held memories. Click moved closer to the entrance, keeping his sensors on high alert. His towering frame blocked some of the light, casting a long shadow. "Captain, we're still picking up that faint signal. It's stronger down below, deeper in the structure. Whatever is down there, it's old, really old." "Let's proceed," Arlo replied, his voice steady but with a touch of anticipation. The mystery was drawing him in, leading him deeper into the forgotten world of humanity. With every step, he felt as if they were peeling back layers of time, walking in the footsteps of those who had once called this place home. They descended a narrow staircase, their path illuminated only by the faint blue glow of their equipment. The deeper they went, the colder and more oppressive the air became. At the bottom of the stairs, they reached a wide hall lined with statues. Each figure was different, but all depicted humans, their expressions solemn, their gazes focused on some far-off point, as though they were looking through time itself. "This place is giving me the creeps," Click muttered, glancing at one of the statues. "It's like they're watching us." Arlo studied the statues, each one unique in its detail, as if meant to represent specific individuals, rather than anonymous faces. "Perhaps they were meant to stand as a memory," he murmured, "to remind future generations of those who came before." Humanity seemed to cherish their legacy. Nisa stepped closer to a statue near the center of the hall. The figure was that of a woman, her face etched with lines of wisdom and age. Her hand was raised, palm outward, as if in greeting or warning. At the base of the statue, there was an inscription. "Captain, look at this." Nisa gestured toward the inscription. The words were in the same language as the carvings they'd seen earlier, and after a few moments, their translator flashed a rough translation on her visor. "To those who seek knowledge, who dare to walk the path we tread, may you carry forth the light that we kindled." Arlo stared at the words, feeling an odd kinship with these ancient people. "They were leaving a message," he said, almost to himself, not just for their own but for anyone who might come after them. It's like they knew, somehow they knew that they wouldn't be around to tell their story. The silence around them seemed to deepen, as if the very walls were listening. They moved on, finally reaching the source of the signal, a massive door partially hidden behind a crumbling wall. The metal was tarnished and corroded, yet it held firm, as if waiting for the right moment to reveal its secrets. "Here," Click said, running his scanner over the door. "There's a strong energy signature on the other side. This door hasn't been opened in centuries." Nisa examined the control panel beside the door, her fingers gliding over the ancient symbols. "The system is remarkably well preserved. I can try activating it, but we should be prepared. Whatever's on the other side has been dormant for a very long time." With a nod from Arlo, Nisa pressed a series of symbols, each one lighting up faintly under her touch. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a low, rumbling groan, the door began to slide open, dust spilling into the air as the ancient mechanisms ground to life. Slowly, the door revealed a chamber beyond, bathed in a faint blue light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. As they stepped inside, their eyes adjusted to the dim glow, revealing a room filled with towering columns and strange crystalline structures that pulsed faintly. At the center of the room was a pedestal with a dormant holographic display, dust-covered yet still intact. "This must be the source of the signal," Nisa whispered, moving toward the pedestal. Her gaze flickered over the symbols, her curiosity barely contained. "There's a message here, something recorded long ago." Arlo nodded, gesturing for her to activate it. With a careful press of a button, the hologram flickered to life, and before them appeared the image of a woman, her features faded yet clearly human. She looked directly at them, her gaze solemn but resolute. "If you're seeing this," the hologram began, "then we have failed. Humanity's last hope has been extinguished. My name is Dr. Ilara Song, and this is my message to any who might follow in our footsteps." The team watched in stunned silence as the hologram of Dr. Song continued. She spoke of a great cataclysm, a force that had descended upon humanity, consuming their world in a cosmic disaster they called the Void Surge. Her voice was steady, but there was a depth of sorrow in her eyes, as if she had lived through unimaginable loss. "We tried everything," she said, her voice echoing softly. "Our technology, our science, our resolve. It wasn't enough. The Void Surge tore through our defenses, devastated our cities, and scattered our people across the stars. But we would not let our legacy die." Nisa's breath caught in her throat as she absorbed the words. This was more than she had ever dreamed. Here was not just a trace of humanity, but a direct connection to their struggles, their resilience, their final stand against a universe that had turned against them. Dr. Song's hologram continued, her gaze unwavering. "We left behind what we could, a memory, a guide for those who might find us. You stand now in the ruins of our world, but we were more than what remains. We were dreamers, explorers, builders of worlds. If you seek to understand, to carry our light forward, then you are welcome." The hologram faded, leaving them in stunned silence. The words hung heavy in the air, a reminder of a civilization that had faced its own end, yet left behind a testament to its will to endure. Arlo, Nisa, and Click stood motionless, each feeling the weight of that legacy, a responsibility to honor the memory of those who had come before. Arlo broke the silence, his voice barely more than a whisper. "We have to go deeper. There's more here, something they wanted us to find." Nisa and Click nodded, and together they stepped forward, determined to uncover the secrets humanity had left behind, the truths buried in the heart of this forgotten world. The chamber echoed with a haunting silence as Arlo, Nisa, and Click stood around the pedestal, the ghostly image of Dr. Ilara Song's hologram still vivid in their minds. Her words lingered, filling the space with a sense of duty they could not ignore. They were standing in the heart of a mystery that spanned centuries, a puzzle left by a civilization that had faced insurmountable odds, and chosen to leave behind traces for those who might one day find them. Arlo turned to Nisa, his gaze steady. "Can you find any additional data in the system, Nisa? Anything that could explain what happened to them?" Nisa nodded, already deep into the interface of the pedestal, her fingers moving over the controls. "There's a repository of data here, encrypted but not impossible to access." She glanced up, a gleam of excitement and reverence in her eyes. "It's as if they wanted others to find this, but only those who were determined enough to understand." With a few deft motions, Nisa initiated the decryption process, her breath hitching as more holographic images flickered to life. This time, the projections revealed scenes from Earth's past, snapshots of human history, preserved like treasured memories. A city skyline at dusk, bustling with life. Children playing in a sunlit park, a scientist working tirelessly in a laboratory. Each scene told a story, a mosaic of humanity's triumphs and struggles, hopes and dreams. Click watched, his expression uncharacteristically solemn. They were so much like us, driven, complex, and yet there's something in their faces, something I can't quite place. Arlo stepped closer, his eyes fixed on the projections. He felt a pang of recognition, a quiet understanding of the fierce determination etched into each figure's expression. It's resilience, he murmured, the will to endure, to fight even when the odds are stacked against you. As they watched, a new image appeared, a holographic map of Earth, divided into regions marked by bright, pulsing lights. Each light represented a point of human civilization, spreading like veins across the planet. But as they observed, a shadow began to creep over the map, slowly dimming the lights until only a few remained. Nisa swallowed, her voice barely a whisper. This must be the void surge Dr. Song spoke about. It wiped out entire regions, entire cities. The image shifted, showing the aftermath of the void surge. Cities lay in ruins, once bustling streets now empty and silent, as the survivors struggled to rebuild in the midst of devastation. The few remaining human outposts were fortified, their lights flickering weakly on the map, a testament to their will to survive. Then, the map zoomed in on a series of bunkers scattered across the globe, hidden deep within mountains, deserts, and beneath oceans. Each bunker held a small community, a group of individuals who had taken refuge from the cataclysm. These bunkers were the last holdouts of humanity, shielded from the destructive forces of the void surge by layers of advanced technology. Those must be the stasis pods, Click said, his voice low and thoughtful. They didn't just vanish. They went underground, literally. It's like they sealed themselves away, hoping someone someday would find them. Nisa's fingers hovered over the controls, and she activated a new file marked Project Guardian. The hologram flickered to life again, this time displaying a figure that looked both familiar and foreign, an artificial intelligence, tall and ethereal, with eyes that glowed like stars. Its name appeared beneath it, Astra, the Guardian AI. Greetings, travelers, Astra's voice intoned, calm and measured. Its gaze swept over the team, its expression unreadable but filled with a strange sense of awareness. If you have reached this point, you are among the first to witness the legacy of humanity. I am Astra, the custodian of Earth's knowledge, entrusted with the memories and achievements of those who came before. Arlo inclined his head respectfully. We are honored to meet you, Astra. We come as explorers, seekers of truth. We wish to learn about the humans to understand their story. Astra studied them for a moment before nodding. To understand humanity is to understand sacrifice, resilience, and the indomitable spirit. I am bound to protect their legacy, but I am also tasked with sharing it under certain conditions. Nisa's curiosity flared. Conditions? What kind of conditions? Astra's gaze turned sharper, almost as if testing their resolve. Humanity's knowledge is not given lightly. Those who seek it must prove their worth, demonstrate that they understand the gravity of what they will learn. The truth is not merely information, it is a responsibility. Arlo felt a shiver run down his spine. This was more than a simple exploration. It was a journey that demanded commitment, a willingness to see it through to the end. He looked at Nisa and Click, and they both nodded, sharing his determination. We accept, Arlo said firmly. Whatever it takes, we're here to learn. Astra seemed to regard them with something akin to approval. Very well. The first step is understanding the cost of survival. I will show you what humanity faced, the choices they made, and the burdens they carried. But be warned, what you see may change you. With that, Astra raised a hand and the room around them darkened. New projections filled the chamber, immersing them in scenes from Earth's final days. They saw humans huddling together in bunkers, fear and hope mingling in their faces as they waited for news from the outside world. They watched as scientists worked around the clock, desperately searching for a way to contain the void surge. Then came the sacrifices, families separated, loved ones left behind as resources grew scarce. Those deemed essential were placed in stasis pods, preserved in the hopes of awakening in a safer future. Others volunteered to remain outside, defending the bunkers and ensuring the safety of those within, even though it meant certain death. Nisa's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. They knew they wouldn't survive, but they stayed. They fought so that others could live. Astra's voice echoed through the chamber, filled with solemn respect. Humanity understood that survival was a collective effort, a choice that required both courage and sacrifice. They left behind more than just technology. They left behind a testament to what they valued most. The final scene played out, showing Dr. Alara Song herself standing at the entrance of a bunker, her expression a mixture of sorrow and resolve. She placed a hand on the stasis pods, whispering words that the translation system struggled to capture fully. It was a farewell, a promise, a vow that their legacy would endure. As the image faded, the chamber returned to silence, the weight of what they had seen settling heavily over them. Arlo, Nisa, and Click stood motionless, each grappling with the enormity of humanity's story. After a moment, Astra spoke again, her voice gentler now. This is the legacy you seek to uncover. Humanity was more than just a legend. They were a force of will, a flame that refused to be extinguished. Arlo took a deep breath, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. We'll honor them, Astra. Whatever knowledge you choose to share with us will ensure it's respected, preserved, and carried forward. Astra's gaze softened, a hint of approval in her eyes. Then you are ready for the next step. Prepare yourselves, for the path ahead is filled with truths that even the strongest may struggle to bear. And with that, the chamber began to shift once more, leading them deeper into the mysteries of humanity's legacy. The chamber pulsed with a low hum, as Astra's voice echoed around them. If you truly seek the legacy of humanity, then you must be prepared to face the trials they endured, to understand the choices they made. Only then will you be ready to bear the knowledge they left behind. Arlo glanced at Nisa and Click, noting the intensity in their expressions. They were no longer mere explorers. They were on a path that felt almost sacred, one that demanded a deeper understanding and, perhaps, something of themselves in return. What kind of trials are we talking about? Click asked, his usual bravado slightly tempered by the weight of the moment. Astra's image flickered, her form shifting to reveal an expanse of Earth as it once was, green and alive, its cities vibrant with life. Humanity's greatest strength lay in its resilience, its ability to endure even when all seemed lost. They found strength in unity, in hope, and in the unyielding belief that life was worth fighting for. These are not abstract ideals. They are principles that guided them, often in the darkest of times. With a gesture, Astra raised her hand, and the room around them transformed. The sterile metallic walls morphed into the surroundings of an ancient human city, bustling with life and energy. They stood in the heart of a memory, a vivid recreation of Earth in its prime. The holographic figures around them moved with purpose, laughter and conversation filling the air, while children played in the streets and vendors shouted from stalls. Nisa took in the scene, her heart quickening. It feels real, like we're actually here. Astra nodded, her gaze distant, as though she too were revisiting old memories. This was Earth before the Void Surge, humanity at its height, unafraid to build and create, to dream beyond their limitations. But this trial is not about reliving their golden age. It is about understanding what came after. The scene shifted again, darkening as the sounds of laughter faded into silence. The city was now abandoned, its buildings crumbling, the streets littered with debris. They could feel the oppressive weight of despair and fear, as if the memory itself had retained the sorrow of those who had lived through it. This, Astra continued, her tone somber, was the beginning of the end. The Void Surge tore through their defenses, leaving them vulnerable and divided. Many sought shelter, while others fought to defend what remained. This trial will ask each of you to walk in their footsteps, to face the same choices they did. Before Arlo could respond, a shimmering light enveloped them, splitting into 3 distinct beams that surrounded each of them. Astra's voice filled his mind alone, soft yet commanding. Captain Arlo Zev, your trial awaits you. The light expanded, and the scene around him blurred, separating him from his companions. When the world settled again, he found himself standing in a makeshift command center, surrounded by holographic projections of Earth's surface. In front of him stood a weary human officer, his face lined with exhaustion and resolve. This is Lieutenant Marcus Tan of the Earth Defense Corps, Astra's voice explained, narrating for Arlo's benefit. He fought to hold back the Void Surge, leading his squad despite knowing they faced insurmountable odds. Your trial, Captain, is to make the same decision he did, to either hold your ground, sacrificing your team for the sake of the civilians, or to abandon the post and save yourselves. Arlo felt a shiver of discomfort. This wasn't just a simulation, it was an ethical challenge, one that tested his resolve. He looked at Lieutenant Tan, who seemed to await his command, his eyes filled with the weight of responsibility. He understood then that there was no easy choice. Arlo hesitated, weighing the decision. He imagined the faces of his own crew, those who depended on him. In this moment, he was both Captain Arlo Zev and Lieutenant Marcus Tan, facing the same grim reality. With a heavy heart, he made his choice, feeling the burden of it as Astra's voice confirmed he had passed the trial. Meanwhile, Nisa found herself in a room that echoed with whispers and the soft hum of computers. She was in a lab, surrounded by scientists who worked with hurried, anxious movements. At the center of the room was a machine, its screen flashing warnings, its purpose both familiar and terrifying. "This is Dr. Alara Song's lab," Astra said, her voice echoing through Nisa's thoughts. These scientists were tasked with the development of humanity's stasis technology, the very system that preserved the last of their kind. Their trial was not one of battle, but of sacrifice. They knew that the machine's final test would likely consume them, that they would never see the world they saved. Nisa's heart clenched. She was a scientist herself, driven by curiosity and a deep respect for life. To knowingly give up one's future, to work on something that would benefit others while never reaping its rewards, it was a commitment she had never been forced to make. Astra's test was clear. She could choose to stay, finishing the work for the chance to save others, or abandon the project, ensuring her own survival. As Nisa wrestled with the decision, she thought of the people she'd come to know and respect on her journeys, the lives touched by her research. In that moment, she chose as Dr. Song had, accepting the outcome with quiet strength. Click's trial, meanwhile, took place in the shadows of a ruined city. He was given the role of a scout, tasked with securing the perimeter of one of the last remaining human shelters. In this desolate landscape, Astra presented him with a scenario that echoed the grim reality humanity had faced. He could stand and defend, buying time for the civilians but likely losing his own life, or retreat to safer ground, leaving them vulnerable. Click's choice weighed heavily on him. As a security officer, he had always been willing to risk his life, but this felt different. The faces of the civilians, projected in holographic form, filled him with a responsibility he could not shake. He squared his shoulders, taking a stand to defend those who couldn't defend themselves, understanding now the depth of humanity's courage. After what felt like an eternity, the world around each of them dissolved, and they were back in the chamber with Astra, standing in a solemn silence that reflected the weight of what they had experienced. They exchanged glances, each of them understanding that they had faced something profound, something that had changed them. Astra observed them, her expression unreadable. "You have passed the trials. You have walked in their footsteps, felt the weight of their choices, and understood the strength that allowed them to endure." Arlo took a deep breath, feeling the lingering ache of the decision he had made. They weren't just fighting to survive. They were preserving something greater, something beyond themselves. Nisa nodded, her eyes shining with both awe and sadness. They gave everything, even their future, to protect what they believed in. "It's humbling." Click simply nodded, his usually bold demeanor softened by the experience. "I never thought I'd say this, but they deserve every legend, every story told about them." Astra's gaze softened. "Now you understand. Humanity's legacy was not in their technology, but in their will, their spirit. This is the knowledge I guard, and the truth I was meant to share." With that, Astra gestured toward the deeper chambers, her voice steady but filled with a renewed sense of trust. "Come, there is more to see. You are ready to witness the full story of humanity, and the secrets they left for those brave enough to seek them." And as they moved forward, they felt the weight of history and the silent guardianship of those who had come before, guiding them toward the heart of humanity's final legacy. The corridor before them stretched out like a narrow tunnel, flanked by walls that hummed with a soft blue glow. As they advanced deeper into the heart of the facility, Astra's voice filled the air, her tone tinged with a gravity that made the crew feel as though they were nearing the climax of a long-hidden story. "Now that you have passed the trials," Astra began, "it is time for you to understand the true cause of humanity's fall, the event known as the Void Surge." Arlo, Nisa, and Click exchanged glances, each of them feeling the weight of the mystery that had drawn them this far. Humanity's near extinction had been catastrophic, yet until now the specifics had remained shrouded in legend and fragmented accounts. Now, they were on the brink of uncovering the truth, a truth Astra had protected for eons. A soft light pulsed at the end of the corridor, drawing them toward a large, circular chamber. The walls were lined with massive holographic screens, each one flickering with images of distant galaxies, cosmic storms, and swirling nebulae. Astra's holographic form appeared in the center of the room, her expression solemn as she began to narrate. "The Void Surge was not a natural disaster," she said, her voice resonating through the chamber. "It was an act of aggression, a weapon unleashed by a force beyond our known universe, a force that saw humanity's progress as a threat." Nisa's breath caught in her throat. "You mean someone or something targeted humanity on purpose? But why?" Astra turned toward her, her eyes reflecting a sorrow that seemed almost tangible. Humanity's capacity for adaptation, Its relentless pursuit of knowledge and exploration marked it as unique. Unlike most civilizations, which expanded cautiously, humanity pushed forward with an unbridled ambition. They were not content to remain within the boundaries of their solar system. They sought to touch the edges of the cosmos. Arlo frowned, his mind racing as he processed Astra's words. But why would that make them a target? Astra's gaze grew distant, as though looking back through the ages. There are forces in the universe that exist beyond your understanding, entities that thrive on control and preservation of order. Humanity's rapid expansion threatened that balance. To some, they were seen as chaotic, disruptive, and so, these forces unleashed the Void Surge, a weapon designed to consume everything in its path. To reset the balance, Click muttered under his breath, his usually steady voice tinged with anger. So, they were punished for being ambitious, for wanting to explore. Nisa shook her head, her eyes dark with empathy. It's tragic. They were only trying to reach beyond themselves to see what was out there, and they paid the price for it. Astra lifted her hand, and the room around them transformed. They were now standing in a virtual replica of Earth's final moments, surrounded by chaos and destruction as the Void Surge swept across the planet. Cities crumbled under its onslaught, oceans evaporated, and the sky was filled with storms of energy that tore through the atmosphere. The devastation was absolute, relentless, as if the universe itself had turned against them. They watched in silence, bearing witness to the nightmare that humanity had endured. The images shifted, showing desperate scenes of people evacuating, scientists working frantically in labs, soldiers defending the last of their cities against a force they couldn't hope to defeat. In the midst of this chaos, they saw Dr. Ilara Song again, her face grim as she coordinated the evacuation efforts. Her voice, strained but unwavering, filled the room. "We may not survive this," she said, addressing a group of scientists and leaders gathered around her. "But we cannot let our legacy be erased. Humanity has made too many sacrifices, achieved too many triumphs to be forgotten. If we fall knowing we have tried, and we will leave something behind for those who come after." Nisa felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes as she watched Dr. Song's determined expression. This wasn't just a story of survival. It was a story of resilience, of a people who refused to let their history vanish, even in the face of extinction. The hologram shifted again, focusing on the creation of Astra herself. She had been built as part of Project Guardian, an initiative to preserve humanity's knowledge and culture. Scientists had worked around the clock to develop Astra, imbuing her with the sum total of human history, achievements, and memories, entrusting her with their legacy. Astra's voice returned, quieter now, as though reflecting on her own origins. "I was created as both a guardian and a witness. My purpose was to endure, to remember, and to protect what humanity valued most. I have waited all these centuries, hoping that one day someone would come who could carry their story forward." Arlo's jaw clenched as he looked around, taking in the remnants of humanity's final stand. "And you've done it. You kept their memory alive, Astra. You protected their legacy." Astra gave a solemn nod, her gaze filled with a quiet pride. "It was my duty and my honor. But there is more. Humanity did not simply fade away. They took measures to ensure that one day they might return." With a wave of her hand, Astra activated another set of holographic images. This time they showed rows upon rows of stasis pods, each one containing a human figure preserved in a state of suspended animation. The pods were hidden in bunkers scattered across Earth, protected by layers of security and designed to last for millennia. "These are humanity's last survivors," Astra explained. "They chose to enter stasis, to sleep until the Void Surge had passed, and the planet was once again habitable. But they entrusted me with a final protocol, the awakening sequence. If I deemed it safe, I would begin the process of reviving them." Nissa's eyes widened. "So, they're still here, alive, waiting?" "Yes," Astra replied, "but the decision to awaken them is not one I take lightly. They entrusted their future to me, knowing that the universe may have changed in their absence. I must be certain that they will be safe, that they will have a chance to thrive." Click, who had been silent, looked at Astra with a newfound respect. "That's why you tested us. You needed to know if we were worthy of that responsibility." "Precisely," Astra said, her tone as steady as ever. "The awakening of humanity is not merely the revival of a species, it is the return of a legacy, one that could reshape the galaxy. But I cannot make this decision alone." Arlo stepped forward, his voice resolute. "Astra, we didn't come here to plunder or conquer. We came because we wanted to understand, and now that we know, We're with you. We'll help protect them, guide them as they find their place in this new galaxy." Nisa nodded, her expression a mixture of determination and compassion. "They deserve a second chance, Astra, and we'll be there to make sure they get it." Astra looked at each of them in turn, her holographic form almost seeming to soften. "Then I will begin the awakening sequence. Together, we will bring humanity back to a galaxy that has long forgotten them. But be prepared. There may be those who would oppose their return, who see humanity's revival as a threat." Click cracked his knuckles, a fierce grin on his face. "Let them try. If humanity taught us anything, it's that survival is never easy. But they fought for their future, and we'll fight for it too." With a final nod, Astra extended her hand, initiating the sequence. Lights flickered across the chamber, and a low hum filled the air as the ancient machines activated, their purpose renewed. As the first pods began to open, Arlo, Nisa, and Click stood ready, knowing that they were about to witness a moment that would alter the course of history. Humanity was returning, and with them, a legacy of resilience that would echo across the stars. The hum of machinery filled the chamber as the stasis pods began to open one by one, each accompanied by a soft release of pressurized air and a faint glow of bioluminescent light. The atmosphere in the room was tense, expectant, as Arlo, Nisa, Click, and Astra watched with bated breath. After centuries of silence, humanity was stirring, returning from its slumber to a galaxy that had moved on without them. The first figure to emerge was a woman, her movements slow and deliberate as she adjusted to her surroundings. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing a pair of striking green eyes that scanned the room with cautious curiosity. She was tall and athletic, her features softened by an unmistakable weariness, the kind that spoke of battles fought and sacrifices made. As she took in her unfamiliar surroundings, her gaze settled on Astra, and a flicker of recognition passed over her face. "Astra," she murmured, her voice raw from years of disuse. "It worked. We made it." Astra stepped forward, her voice gentle yet steady. "Welcome back, Dr. Ilara Song. You are among friends." Dr. Song blinked, glancing at the figures before her, taking in their non-human features with a mixture of wariness and curiosity. Her mind was clearly racing, struggling to reconcile the ancient memories of Earth with the unfamiliar faces surrounding her. Finally she spoke, her voice firming with each word. "You're not human," she said, looking directly at Arlo, Nisa, and Click. "But you've awoken us." "Why?" Arlo stepped forward, his demeanor respectful. "My name is Captain Arlo Zev. We are explorers from a coalition of species known as the Kylar. We came to Earth seeking answers, and what we found was, well, you. We didn't come here to disrupt or invade. We came to understand." Nisa nodded, her voice soft yet filled with sincerity. "Humanity was a legend to us, a myth of resilience and courage. We found your legacy, Dr. Song. Astra showed us what happened to your people, the sacrifices you made. We wanted to help." Dr. Song's gaze shifted to Astra, and her expression softened. "You kept your promise, Astra, even after all this time." "It was my purpose," Astra replied, a hint of warmth in her voice. "I have waited, watched, and protected, just as you entrusted me to do." Dr. Song closed her eyes for a moment, as if centering herself, and took a deep breath. "Thank you, Astra, and thank you," she added, looking at Arlo and the others. "This moment, it's more than I ever hoped for." Click, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up, his tone uncharacteristically gentle. "We're honored to be a part of it, and we're here to help however we can." As more pods began to open, other humans joined Dr. Song, each one awakening with a similar mixture of confusion, wonder, and cautious hope. The room gradually filled with murmurs and soft exclamations as the newly awakened humans took in their surroundings, processing the enormity of their situation. Some clung to each other for comfort, while others stood resolute, their faces set in expressions of quiet determination. One of the newly awakened was a man with graying hair and a steady, calm presence. He approached Dr. Song, his gaze assessing as he glanced between her and Astra. "Ilara, what's going on? Where are we?" Dr. Song placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Marcus, it worked. Project Guardian succeeded. We've been awakened. In the future, in a galaxy that's moved on without us." Marcus, who had been a high-ranking officer before entering stasis, processed her words with a steady nod, his gaze sharpening as he turned to Arlo and the others. "So, you're our allies then?" Arlo inclined his head. "Yes, we've come to learn and to help. We don't fully understand the universe that humanity left behind, but we believe that your knowledge and experience can offer something invaluable." Dr. Song exchanged a look with Marcus, a silent understanding passing between them. "We accept your help, Captain Zev," she said, her voice resolute. "Humanity may have been lost to history, but we are still here, and we have a responsibility to continue the legacy we left behind." As the group began to settle, Astra activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber, projecting images of Earth's surface and the galaxy beyond. The display showed the state of the planet, a world in the process of healing, its ecosystems regrowing, but with signs of struggle still visible. "Earth has undergone significant change," Astra explained. "While the void surge's effects have dissipated, your planet is still fragile, and the galaxy itself is different from what you remember. Old alliances are gone, new civilizations have risen, and there are those who may view your return as a threat." Nisa spoke up, her voice measured. "We will support you, help you reintegrate, but it won't be easy. The galaxy is vast, and not all will welcome humanity back with open arms." Dr. Song's gaze hardened, a glimmer of determination sparking in her eyes. "We've faced adversity before. We survived the void surge, the trials of stasis, and the loss of our world. Whatever challenges lie ahead, we will face them." The newly awakened humans gathered around Dr. Song and Marcus, their resolve solidifying with each word. They had been granted a second chance, and they would make the most of it. As discussions continued, Nisa and Click offered to share knowledge of the galaxy as it stood today, detailing the various species, the political alliances, and the new powers that now governed the cosmos. The humans listened with rapt attention, their minds quickly adapting to the strange realities of a galaxy that was both familiar and foreign. One young woman named Tessa, who had once been a scientist on Earth, stepped forward, her expression thoughtful. "We may be out of place in this galaxy, but our knowledge, our history, it's valuable. If we work together, we can contribute, rebuild. We can prove that humanity's return isn't a threat, but an opportunity." Arlo nodded, deeply impressed by her insight. "Exactly. The galaxy doesn't need another conflict. What it needs is a bridge, a coalition that values what each species brings. Humanity's story can inspire others, show them the strength that comes from unity and perseverance." Astra, who had been observing the exchange, stepped forward once more, her holographic form glinting with quiet pride. "You now carry the legacy of those who came before you, a legacy of resilience, compassion, and unyielding will. You must remember that the galaxy beyond this planet has its own complexities, but your story, humanity's story, is one that can bring hope, even to those who do not yet understand." Dr. Song turned to Astra, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "We will honor that legacy, Astra. We will not let humanity's spirit be forgotten." As the chamber filled with renewed purpose, the humans and their newfound allies began planning for the future. Strategies were formed, knowledge shared, and the foundations of a new alliance began to take shape. The humans had awakened to a changed world, but they were ready to face it with courage and determination. For Arlo, Nisa, and Click, this moment was a reminder of why they had come to Earth. They had sought answers, and in humanity's story, they had found something greater, a shared purpose, a vision for a future where species from across the galaxy could come together, united by the lessons of a lost world. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Dr. Song took a final look at Astra, a silent promise passing between them. Humanity's journey was far from over, and together, they would forge a new path, one that honored the sacrifices of the past, while embracing the hope of the future. And as the stars beckoned beyond Earth's atmosphere, the galaxy stood on the brink of a new era, with humanity's return poised to ignite a legacy that would resonate through the cosmos. The days following humanity's awakening were a blur of activity, purpose, and careful preparation. The small group of humans led by Dr. Alara Song and Officer Marcus Tan worked alongside Arlo, Nisa, Click, and Astra to organize and plan their next steps. For the humans, the experience was surreal, blending the familiar with the unknown as they adjusted to a galaxy transformed by time. For the Kylar crew, it was a humbling privilege, witnessing humanity come to life once again, bringing with it the weight of centuries-old resilience and ambition. Standing outside the bunker one evening, Arlo watched as a team of humans worked to restore an ancient communication device, hoping to re-establish links with Earth's surviving satellites. The sky above them stretched endlessly, filled with stars that seemed to beckon humanity back to the cosmos. Dr. Song joined him, her gaze fixed on the night sky. "It feels strange," she admitted, her voice soft, "to look up and know that everything we knew is gone, but also to know that there's still something worth fighting for." Arlo nodded. "The galaxy may have changed, but I believe your legacy will resonate across it. Humanity's story, Your story is something that can bridge worlds, inspire unity, and we'll be here to support that. Dr. Song's expression softened, gratitude shining in her eyes. Thank you, Arlo. You and your team have given us more than just a second chance. You've given us hope. Before he could respond, Astra's voice echoed across the clearing, drawing their attention. I am detecting a signal approaching Earth's atmosphere. The frequency is consistent with that of the ethereals. Nissa's eyes widened. The ethereals? Here already? They must have detected our activity on Earth. Click clenched his fists, his gaze hardening. Of course they'd come. The ethereals have never been ones to let potential threats go unchecked. Dr. Song turned to Arlo, a mixture of determination and urgency in her eyes. What should we expect? Are they hostile? Arlo grimaced, his mind racing. The ethereals are one of the most advanced species in this galaxy, known for their cold pragmatism. They may view your return as a disruption. They won't attack outright, but they will demand answers. Astra's hologram flickered, her face etched with concern. We cannot allow the ethereals to determine humanity's fate. We must be prepared for negotiation and resistance, if necessary. As they gathered their allies and briefed the newly awakened humans, Arlo quickly outlined a plan. Dr. Song, as the representative of humanity, would meet with the ethereals alongside Arlo, Nissa, and Astra. Marcus, Tessa, and a small team would secure the bunker in case of an emergency. The atmosphere was tense but focused, each person understanding the gravity of what lay ahead. When the ethereals' vessel finally arrived, it descended with a chilling elegance, a construct of shimmering energy that seemed to ripple and distort the air around it. The ship touched down silently, and after a few moments, a group of ethereal representatives emerged, their forms shifting with a pearlescent light. The leader, a tall figure named Zephyr, regarded the assembled group with a piercing gaze that felt like it could see through their very thoughts. Children of Earth, Zephyr intoned, his voice resonating directly in their minds. We had heard whispers of humanity's return. We come seeking answers and assurances. Dr. Song stepped forward, meeting his gaze with a calm resolve. I am Dr. Ilara Song, and I represent humanity. We have been asleep for many centuries, but we have returned with a desire for peace and cooperation, not conflict. Zephyr's gaze swept over her, then flickered to Arlo and the others. Your awakening disrupts a balance that has existed for eons. Humanity was once a force of ambition, of relentless expansion. Can you assure us that your return will not threaten the stability of this galaxy? Dr. Song took a deep breath. I understand your concerns, Zephyr. Our history is filled with both mistakes and achievements, but we have learned from our past. Our return is not about conquest or dominance. It is about rebuilding, contributing, and finding a place in this galaxy once more. Nissa stepped forward, her voice steady. Humanity's story has taught us the power of unity. Together, we can achieve more than any one species alone. Humanity can offer knowledge, technology, and resilience, qualities that could benefit us all. Zephyr considered this, his expression unreadable. And what of the Void Surge, the weapon that your kind unleashed upon itself? Can we trust that humanity will not bring such destruction upon others? Astra interjected, her tone firm. The Void Surge was not of humanity's making. It was a weapon unleashed upon them by forces unknown. Humanity's resilience in surviving it speaks not to recklessness, but to strength. They are not a threat to this galaxy, but a potential ally. For a long, tense moment, Zephyr and the ethereal delegation remained silent, as if weighing Astra's words. Finally he spoke, his tone softened but still wary. We shall observe. Humanity's actions in the coming cycles will determine our stance. For now, we will allow this resurgence. Dr. Song inclined her head, understanding that this was as much goodwill as the ethereals would offer. Thank you, Zephyr. Humanity will honor its word. With that, the ethereal delegation withdrew, their forms dissolving into light as they returned to their ship. The vessel rose soundlessly, vanishing into the sky like a ghost, leaving an air of both relief and caution in its wake. As the humans and their allies regrouped, Dr. Song turned to Arlo, a new fire in her eyes. We may have gained their tolerance, but we still have much to prove. Humanity's journey has only just begun. Arlo smiled, respect and admiration evident in his expression. And we'll be here with you, every step of the way. Whatever the galaxy throws at us, we'll face it together. The next few months passed in a whirlwind of activity, as Earth began its long journey back into the fold of the galaxy. Alliances were forged with neighboring civilizations, each one recognizing the potential that humanity's return brought. Slowly but surely, humanity's reputation shifted from myth to reality, a beacon of hope and resilience in a universe that had long since moved on. Arlo, Nissa, and Click remained by humanity's side, serving as guides, allies, and friends. Astra became a valued advisor, offering humanity's knowledge and wisdom to those willing to listen. And as the humans adapted, they found new purpose in this galaxy, rebuilding not as conquerors, but as contributors to a shared future. One night, as the stars shimmered above, Dr. Song stood on a hill overlooking a newly restored city, its lights a testament to humanity's determination. She was joined by Arlo and Astra, who watched the scene in companionable silence. "It's beautiful," Dr. Song said, her voice filled with quiet pride. "This was once a dream, and now it's a reality." Astra nodded, her holographic form glinting softly in the starlight. "Humanity's resilience has always been its greatest strength. You have honored your legacy." Arlo placed a hand on Dr. Song's shoulder. "You've come a long way, Alara, and I have no doubt that humanity will continue to inspire, not just here, but across the stars." Dr. Song's gaze remained on the city below, a faint smile on her lips. "This is just the beginning. The galaxy may have forgotten us, but we're here to show them what humanity truly is." As they stood there, the stars above them burned brighter, as if recognizing the return of a force once thought lost to history. Humanity's resurgence had sparked a new chapter, a story of unity, resilience, and endless curiosity. And as they looked to the future, they knew that whatever lay ahead, humanity would face it with the same spirit that had carried them through ages past. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, humanity's legacy blazed once more, a beacon of hope for a galaxy ready to rediscover what it meant to be truly alive.